academics, eligibility, and life skills. There are 6 challenges, according to Parham, that student athletes are often confronted with. These include the following: balancing athletic and academic demands, balancing social activities with athletic endeavors, balancing athletic success or lack of success and their mental health, balancing physical health with their desire to play, balancing the demands of relationships, and dealing with the ending of their athletic career. As an intercollegiate athletic administrator, it is your job to understand these challenges and others that a student athlete may face. The NCAA Eligibility Center was created to evaluate the initial eligibility of prospective first-year student athletes. Registration is required for all U.S. high school students and international students who want to play sports in the NCAA Division I or Division II levels. Student athletes that desire to play at the D1 or D2 level must also complete a required number of core academic courses in high school with a minimum GPA of 2.0 on a 4.0 scale to qualify for financial assistance and practice. At the D1 level, student athletes must have a GPA of 2.3 to be able to compete. Eligibility requirements for D3 are determined by the individual school that they are competing for. For the NAIA, student athletes wishing to compete must first go through Play NAIA. As for a GPA requirement for competition, a student athlete must have a GPA of at least 2.0 once they become a junior on or off the playing field or court. That is 60 academic hours or after playing 2 seasons and beginning the 3rd. There are some cases where special admits will be granted. The NCAA sliding scale allows students with low test scores to gain eligibility to compete for a D1 or D2 school if their GPA is significantly higher. What that means is that a student's GPA increases, the required standardized test score decreases. If the combination of test scores and GPA is below the university standards, but above the NCAA minimum standards indicated on the sliding scale, a special admit may be granted. Special admits must be limited unless the institution has unlimited resources to support them. It is a good practice to ask coaches to prove that an athlete can succeed in the classroom before a special admit is granted. Ultimately, the decision about a student's admission is held by the school's admissions office. International students who have completed all or part of their education outside of the U.S. must be cleared through the NCAA Eligibility Center and meet academic and amateurism standards. International student athletes must submit standardized test scores and other academic documents to the Eligibility Center. The NCAA does publish a guide to help with this process. A transfer student must meet all NCAA, conference, and school rules. The NCAA published a transfer guide that is available on the Eligibility Center website. The guide outlines the basic transfer rule for D1 and D2 schools that state a transfer student must spend 1 academic year at the new school before becoming eligible unless they qualify for a transfer exception. The NCAA defines a prospective student athlete as a student who has started taking classes for the 9th grade. The official recruiting process can begin the start of the student's junior year. However, the recruiting process may begin earlier in an unofficial manner. Campus visits are a part of the recruiting process that allows prospective student athletes the opportunity to see the college in person. This can be done through camps, unofficial, or official visits. Camps are a good way to meet the coaches, see the facilities, and meet some of the team members. Students can attend as many individual camps as permitted by their high school regulations. Unofficial visits offer another way for students to see various colleges and programs on their own time. These visits must be paid for by the student. Official visits are initiated and paid for by the recruiting school. The institution provides transportation, meals, and lodging. Official visits are limited to 48 hours. Only 5 official visits are allowed per athlete to D1 and D2 schools, and only 1 visit per school. Once a student athlete recruited in D1 or D2 decides which school he or she will attend, he or she is sent a National Letter of Intent, or an NLI. Once signed by the athlete and his or her parent or guardian, the letter of intent serves as a legal document of commitment and signifies the end of the recruiting process. The NLI program is voluntary, but for recruits who are offered an athletics-based financial aid, are assured of their financial package by the recruiting school for 1 academic year. The NLI can be declared null and void if any of the following conditions occur. 1. The recruit is denied admission to the school. 2. Recruit does not meet NCAA, institutional, or conference eligibility requirements. 3. A recruit does not enroll for at least 1 academic year, and the scholarship is no longer available. 4. A recruit serves in the military or on a church mission for 1 year. 5. Institution discontinues the sport. And 6. The institution violates recruiting rules. NLIs bind the recruit with the institution, not the coach. NCAA academic benchmarks are referred to as progress towards degree. Institutions are responsible for determining and certifying the academic eligibility of athletes and for withholding ineligible students from competition. D1 student athletes experience the highest level of regulation, which means minimum GPA requirements. Athletes must earn a GPA that is at least 90% of the institution's minimum required graduation at the beginning of their second year, 95% at their third year, and 100% at year 4. The 40-60-80 rules for D1 athletes is based on their progress towards a degree. In order to remain eligible, student athletes must earn a minimum of 6 credit hours per term, and they must complete 40% of their coursework required of the degree by the end of their second year, 60% by the end of their third year, and 80% by the end of their fourth year. Academic Progress Rate, or APR, is used to gauge and enforce student-athletes' academic progress. The measure is calculated by giving each scholarship athlete per team 1 point for remaining in school and 1 point for remaining eligible. The point total earned by the team is divided by the total number of points possible and then multiplied by 1,000. Players that transfer or leave to play professionally do not count against the team's APR, as long as they leave the school in good academic standings. Teams with a 4-year average APR below 930 are banned from postseason play. Below 925 can result in scholarship loss. D3 and NAIA must be enrolled in at least 12 credit hours per term, regardless of an institution's definition of full-time. To remain eligible in the NAIA, a student-athlete must earn 24 hours in the previous 2 semesters, 48 hours before their junior year, and 72 hours before their senior year. The NCAA cites the importance of amateurism in maintaining a student-first, athlete-second mentality. All prospective D1 and D2 athletes must complete amateur certification through the NCAA Eligibility Center. In order to be deemed an amateur, an athlete must abstain from the following. 1. Contracts with professional teams. 2. Salary for participating in athletics. 3. Prize money above actual and necessary expenses. 4. Play with professionals. 5. Tryouts, practices, and competition with a professional team. 6. Benefits from an agent or prospective agent. 7. Agreement to be represented by an agent. And 8. Delayed initial full-time collegiate enrollment to participate in organized sport competition. Any case flagged by the NCAA eligibility monitoring system is reviewed individually. The measures in place by the NCAA are to enhance the academic focus and graduation rates. However, there are concerns over higher graduation rates versus enhanced educational experience. Steve Klein, a former defensive lineman at Kansas State University, wanted to be a vet, but after performing poorly in biology, his academic advisor encouraged him to take an easier route towards a social science degree. About a third of the team was pursuing that same degree. The practice of academic clustering occurs when a number of students choose or are advised to choose a degree course that represents the path of the least resistance towards eligibility. Mr. Klein and KSU is a prime example of academic clustering. The movement against amateurism has gained momentum over the years. A current attack on the NCAA's version of amateurism can be found in the book, College Athletes for Hire: The Evolution and Legacy of the NCAA's Amateur Myth. Another attack occurred by former UCLA basketball player Ed O'Bannon, when he challenged the NCAA's right to profit from the name, images, and likeness of college athletes without ever compensating them. The NCAA relentlessly argues that the value of a college education provides fair compensation for athletic performance. The size and scope of athletics academic advising has greatly expanded over the years. It is no longer handled by the coaching staff, but rather is now the responsibility of the athletics academic staff. This shift has occurred for several reasons. These include expansion of NCAA rules, eligibility certification procedures, and the potential conflict of interest between athletics and academics. Athletics academic advisors typically work with academic advisors and faculty in a variety of departments on campus to ensure student athletes are taking the right classes to earn their degrees. Therefore, they must have a vast amount of knowledge about classes and a variety of degrees. These advisors must also help student athletes with current challenges and planning for their futures. The learning specialist position has become a necessity due to the increasing recognition and admission of athletes who are academically at risk. The person in this position usually develops individual learning strategies and helps them get connected with the right resources to be academically successful. There are three types of reporting structures used in academic support units. For student athletes, they include the following. 1. Report solely to the athletics department. 2. Report to someone outside of athletics, such as the provost or dean of student affairs. And 3. Dual reporting system, where they report to individuals both inside and outside the athletics department. The athletics director is ultimately responsible for directing staff and allocating the necessary resources to aid in the academic performance of student athletes. This can sometimes be viewed as a conflict of interest. Those involved in academic advising can join a dedicated professional organization. These could include the National Association of Academic Advisors for Athletics, or also known as N4A. It recently became affiliated with the National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics, which is also known as the NACDA. This affiliation provides members with economic support, opportunities for networking, research, and access to potential corporate sponsors. In 1994, a total development program for student athletes was rolled out. The program was called CHAMPS, Life Skills Program, which stood for Challenging Athletes' Minds for Personal Success. Nearly every school has a life skills program of some kind. It varies from campus to campus on the lessons taught, how they are taught, and if they are mandatory. Student Athlete Advisory Committees, or SAACs, provide the opportunity for selected student athletes to contribute to the governance of intercollegiate athletics. Members provide insight into student athlete experiences and offer their thoughts on rules, regulations, and policies that affect them. The functions of campus SAACs include the following: promote communication between athletes and administrators, disseminate information, provide feedback and insight into departmental issues, generate a student-athlete voice within the campus, build a sense of community, including all athletic programs, and solicit student-athletes' responses to proposed legislation. The NCAA suggests that SAACs on campus be set up with elected positions. National SAACs provide a student voice within the NCAA legislative process. They recommend, review, and respond to proposed legislation. National SAAC members not only serve their own campus, but they serve as liaisons between their campus and their conference, as well as their national governing body. College athletics possess a great deal of social power, which means they have the ability to use its people power to do good work. Most athletic programs participate in some type of community service in order to give back to the community that supports them. Also, it is good publicity for the program.